All right, good morning. Welcome to the Nicollet County Board of Commissioners meeting. Would you please rise? We'll have the Pledge of Allegiance led today by Lynette Peterson, our recording secretary.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, good morning. Our county board today is minus 2 commissioners. Commissioner Kemp is on a break in Alaska. Commissioner Stenson is on assignment. So we will move on with the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve items on the consent agenda?
I'll move.
Commissioner Lipke has moved. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Drantle. Any questions? Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, it carries. Public appearances. Are there any public appearances to come before the board today? If so, please state your name and your address. We'll allow 3 minutes for public appearances. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you. Robert Hulke, 41565, 551st Avenue, New Ulm. Still concerned on County Road 12. Not seeing any progress there. Just searching for ideas, solutions, anything. I was looking through state statutes, and I came across one that said that the commissioner of the DNR alone could grant permission for temporary lowering of a public water, and I gave that state statute number to John Commissioner Lipke. In the meantime, it's been brought up about possibly qualifying for FEMA dollars, and now Mr. Lipke has informed me this morning that that may not be a possibility, but just urging the county to aggressively pursue this. And although I've been opposed to pumping in the past, if there would be FEMA dollars available, I'd sure be in favor of that, as would many of my neighbors. It's getting to be crunch time here. We were sure hoping this thing would be open by harvest, and it's not looking good right now. At harvest time, it's going to be very difficult as far as having machinery, farm machinery on Highway 14 and the township roads on either side of County Road 12. And I just want to tell you that it's gone on fairly long here, and people in my area are getting very frustrated. And instead of Roger and I being down here today, we could have 50 or 100 people in here at harvest time if we don't see any progress, and we're not seeing that at all. So I just encourage the county to pursue any avenues to get this lowered. And just something, you know, it looks like any kind of drain tile or anything like that is not going to happen soon enough. So I'm still wondering about, and I know it affect a few people, but not allowing some of this drainage to go in there so that it could lower, you know, that it would go down by itself faster, because right now it's pushed out so far because of all the rain we've had this summer. It's flooded areas all the way around, and if some of that could be blocked from coming in there, I believe some of it's even DNR land that drains into there, so if that'd be a possibility. But yep, just want to encourage you to pursue it, because any avenue we can to lower this and get that road back open, because the people in this area deserve to have that road open. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hulke. We appreciate and value your remarks. You have a question?
No, I just said thank you, and I did share that law with all the commissioners and Michelle and Ryan.
Any other public comments today? Any other public comments today? If we could, we have Justin Block here, emergency manager. There's supposed to be a FEMA meeting on Friday. Justin, could you explain that meeting and what's going to be taking place there?
Sure. Friday morning at 9 a.m. FEMA is going to send their team down here along with the state, and they're going to be performing a preliminary damage assessment of Nicollet County and the damages that we have reported to them to date. And that meeting is going to be where we will start the application process to apply for the FEMA disaster. And I have a list of areas, and I was notified late last night that possibly Lafayette Township now could also be included in that. I need to touch base with someone from that township to verify, but that a representative from each township affected will come to this meeting on Friday, as well as county officials, and we'll go over the dollar amounts that we have currently, and then we will go out into the field with FEMA, and they will take a look at it and see what kind of dollars they come up with. And
Very good. Could you list the areas that are being applied for?
Currently, I have 661st Avenue, Timber Lane, Kearns Drive, Old River Bluff Road, the city of North Mankato for the sinkhole, the sewer line collapse they had, and then, of course, County Road 12.
Okay. So that would begin the process on the whole rain event damage that we've experienced here in Nicollet County.
Correct, and that will start, I believe, FEMA is looking at anything from June 15th until the first week of July.
Okay.
So anything prior to June 15th, they're not looking at. I know there was a couple of counties that applied, and it already has been dismissed because the rains were in the first week of June.
I know this is your first year as emergency management director, but tell me, if you could, what time frames in accessing these FEMA funds? What are we looking at as a county?
I don't have an answer for that right now. The state and FEMA are going to, as you know, I think there was 30 counties that were on the governor's list, and until all of the damage assessments are done, I don't think they're going to do anything with specific counties until everything has been looked at as a whole, because there's a certain dollar amount that the state has to reach before it gets to the federal level. So they have to look at every county that's included in that declaration.
Any other questions about the FEMA meeting? Which commissioners will be attending, Commissioner?
I'm planning on it.
Do you plan to attend? I don't know. I will not be available.
Being that our other scheduled meeting is now rescheduled, I can probably attend. I
Okay.
won't be able to do the road tour thing, but at least the
Well, I think,
initial damage assessment.
very good. I think since it wasn't posted, we can only have two
two.
commissioners there. So you folks, if you can make it, would be great to get started. Anything else that you'd like to add with respect to the FEMA visit?
I don't have anything other than the total so far. I'm sorry, there's also the county park is on the list as well, the east side of
East
7
side.
Mile Park. That's
Okay.
also included. Right now, Nicollet County's total that I have submitted so far is $464,000 is what I have in damages reported to me. Like I said, I'm still waiting. I got notified late last night from Lafayette Township. I don't know what that is gonna entail. I'll have to reach out to them today yet, so.
Question?
Yes.
Chair. Could you add in a possible temporary drawdown of Kister Slough to that list?
Well, County Road 12 is already included on there, and that's the county issue. I mean, I don't think they're gonna look at the temporary drawdown as a separate, it's just,
Okay.
County Road 12 has been included with it. I just don't have, and I should clarify, the $464,000 that I have submitted to the state does not include any dollars towards the County Road 12 drawdown, or there's no numbers involved with that one yet. So that could potentially be a lot higher than 464.
So you could have time to add that in yet. I was wondering, are there any questions from the two gentlemen from Brighton Township about this? We could
I'm not sure if it's a question for Justin, but I was just wondering if we could make plans in case we do get the FEMA money, so that things would be in place, you know, like as far as an outlet to dump the water, if we're gonna pump it, you know, get that lined up, get a pumper lined up, you know, everything, so it's set to go. If they give us the okay, we can start, you know, because a couple weeks is gonna make a lot of difference, and just who's ever gonna take that water downstream and back and down to the river, you know, have the okay from them, work out a deal with them so that everything's in place. I guess that would be my recommendation, but,
Anything else, Justin, that you'd like to add?
I think that's it.
All right. Thank you for that, and good luck with your meeting on Friday. While Seth Greenwood, our highway engineer, is here, just to continue this conversation, if you could come forward. If, and it might be a big if FEMA funding or state funding is available, what would be the next steps for your office toward the county board as a recommendation?
Oh, there is a lot of ifs in this situation. We'll know a whole lot more after Friday, as we can have a more detailed discussion with the FEMA reps, because I don't know if pumping will be necessarily eligible under their program. It very may well be. It's hard to say what their view on that will be, given that there's no outlet for that basin, and spending significant amount of dollars on a temporary solution that may well fill back in. They may be hesitant to authorize significant dollars for that. They may want to put their money towards assisting us with the road reconstruction project and raising of the road, which is a permanent solution to the problem. But won't know that until we have further discussions with FEMA.
And Mr. Chair, before anything happened, even if there was FEMA funding, the county board would have to authorize this pumping to take place. And there are several issues that the board would need to consider, such as liability, landowner consent, where are you going to send the water, and it's really the question is pumping going to work? I mean, we're realistically 100 days from potential freeze up sitting right now, and nothing with FEMA ever works real fast, so even if we started pumping sometime this fall, the likelihood of drawing it down and making it usable for harvest is probably very unlikely at this point. So the process in what would have to happen if FEMA says yes, there's money available, the board would have to consider if you're even willing to move forward with a pumping project.
So would a motion today be in order?
I don't think so, John. We have two commissioners that are absent, and then we also, we need to find out what's gonna happen Friday before any action can really take place.
Mr. Hulke made a remark, and I don't know if he meant it or he said it, so apparently he must have meant it, should not allow drainage in the area. Does that mean, and maybe I should be directing that to you, Mr. Hulke, does that mean drainage from landowners,
yes,
farmers?
yes. And I know there's gonna be some upset people, but
I don't know how you stop people from draining their property. What are the steps involved with that?
That's what I initially had looked at. That was one of the questions that was raised, and I am not immediately finding anything that would allow the county to go in and block private tile that's going into an area.
Yeah.
That's my understanding also.
Did you hear what she said?
yep. But I know, I'm gonna do more research because I've talked to the township attorney, and his claim is you can't block a road with water by drainage. If you're blocking a road, that you can't let your water go into a right of way. You can't block a road. And I'll do more research. He didn't have a lot of time to talk to me that day, but.
So where are we now, Seth, in terms of any resolution on County Road 12 as you see it?
Currently, Stonebrook Engineering has completed a significant amount of survey work for the County Road 12 reconstruction project. They'll be coming back later this fall once crops are out to do some of the further survey work out into the fields. Last week, Brown Intertech showed up to start doing soil borings in two wetland areas that we'll have to widen the road out into, and then yesterday they're anticipating starting to do the borings through the portion of County Road 12 that is underwater. And from that data, the plan set will continue to move forward on what the ultimate raising of the road is going to look like through there.
Will they give some sort of an idea to this board, to you, as to the source of all this water minus the heavy rainfalls?
Source of the water is irrelevant, in my opinion, to what we're doing. We're dealing with the effects, and we're going to mitigate the effects of that water. We're not out there trying to figure out where the water's coming from.
Thank you for that answer.
One thing that I have talked to Stonebrook about is accelerating an estimate on just the cost for the County Road 12 reconstruction project that just affects the raising of the road through the flooded part, because that will become a key part of discussions with possible FEMA funding. If there isn't FEMA funding for it, there are still other avenues. Our state aid construction account, and I talk about the overall account for the entire state of Minnesota, every year there's a certain percentage taken off of that, set aside for state aid. It's called the state aid disaster account. And we would have the ability to make an application to that account if FEMA funding doesn't come through, and so a portion of our County Road 12 reconstruction project may be funded through other sources. Now, if that doesn't pan out, I would anticipate submitting an application to the State Park Road account for possible funding through that. So there's several avenues we're going to be looking at for funding coming in for the raising of the road.
Okay. Any other comments?
Question for
questions?
Seth. You know, I wrote that letter to the governor a week and a half ago. Did anybody contact you from any?
I haven't heard
Nothing?
anything from that office.
I did have a conversation with their constituent office commissioner. I think I mentioned this to you, and they took it under advisement, but indicated that since the legislature was not in session, that they didn't know what could happen at this point in time. Any other comments, Mr. Halke? Or please come forward, state your name if you could, and give us your address. Good morning. Now, if you could give us your name and address, sir.
Roger Hulkey, 54866 422nd Street, New Ulm, Minnesota.
Thank you.
Is there any, Justin gave this bunch of places that were, is any of that prioritized? Is like number 12, is that a number one thing on your list, or is it way down, or where do you?
Justin, could you come forward? You can remain seated, sir.
That list is in no ranking whatsoever. That was just the list I had written down on a piece of paper. FEMA is going to go to every one of those sites that I listed off. We didn't put them in any particular order. And I don't think FEMA is asking for any particular order. They just wanted a list of the locations damaged.
All right, I think the order will be determined by the damage, is my reading of how FEMA works. Seth?
They'll descend on it all at the same time. Once the ball starts rolling, they want to get through everything fast, because it's not only here, the site guys are moving to the next county and working all around, so.
Right.
Everything's a priority when you have damage.
Did you hear that? Everything is a priority.
Well, and how do they, Justin, determine some dollar value there? How do you, number 12, how do you determine the dollar value of the loss?
How do you determine the dollar value of the loss on County Road 12?
You know, there's a lot of extra driving and stuff people do.
Seth?
The cost to raise the road, that's what I'd spoken
Right.
about before, so Stoneberg's working on an estimate of what it will take to do that.
Did you hear what he said?
Yep.
Yeah.
I have no other comments or thank you for your.
All right, well, I appreciate your being here. Just as a matter of, so we can clarify some of these things with Mr. Hulke and Mr. Hulke, I'm going to take a 5-minute recess and then we'll come back and give you an opportunity to visit with our engineer and with Justin back there, okay? 5 minutes. We're back from our recess. Are there any other public appearances? Any other public appearances? Again, Justin, we want to thank you for your sharing the information on the FEMA meeting on Friday. And Mr. Greenwood, thank you for visiting with us about what could happen in the future regarding County Road 12 reconstruction. Comments from commissioners after our public appearances?
Well, I want the road open, but no big surprises here.
All right. Let's move along. Finance?
Mr. Chair,
Oh.
could I, just for a matter of the public record, could we have a motion on the approval of the agenda?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we missed that.
I
I
move to
flew
approve.
right by that. Lipke has moved and Drantle has seconded. Any other changes to the agenda? Sorry about that.
No, that's fine.
All in favor say aye.
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 It carries. Thank you. Thank you very much. We are at Finance. Good morning, Heather.
Morning.
How are you?
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Good. I'm here today to present the Q2 donations received by Nicollet County. The total for Q2 is $3,260, and it's made up of some veterans van donations. Consists of donations from South Central Minnesota Beyond the Yellow Ribbon, Mankato Elks Lodge, and other various donors for a total of $2,680. And then we also had a loan closet total donation of $580. I'm looking for approval of these donations today.
Chair will seek a motion to receive these donations.
So moved, gratefully accepted.
And gratefully seconded.
Thank you. Motion and a second. Any questions? Just, we do write thank yous to these entities on a regular basis.
I can follow up with Nate and Mary to inquire about that.
Very good. Thank you so
Right.
much. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, it carries. Thank you very much, Heather.
Thank you.
Planning and Zoning Advisory, John, good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
I have one request for your consideration today. The request of applicants Joseph Domeyer and Pamela Becker, and also property owner Wanda Domeyer, for a conditional use permit to allow a temporary dwelling for farm help. The site is located in Cortland Township and is zoned shoreland. The ordinance allows temporary dwellings for farm help, elder care, and for use while constructing or repairing a principal dwelling. Joseph and Sarah Domeyer run a sheep farming operation on the property known as Paling Bay Farm. The occupant of the temporary dwelling will assist with the day-to-day duties of the sheep farm. The Domeyers have been operating the farm on the property since 2003. Prior to that, Mr. Domeyer's grandfather operated a dairy farm on the site. The temporary dwelling will be a 2-bedroom manufactured home. A second septic system will be installed to serve the temporary dwelling. The DNR did not object to the request. There were no comments and no public testimony at the hearing. After due consideration, the Commission voted unanimously to recommend approval of the request. We're looking for a motion to approve the request and attach the findings of fact.
You've heard the request. Is there a motion to that effect?
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Lipke and Drantle, any discussion on this?
You said elder care was one of the things that.
Elder care is
So this
one
is
of
kind of
them.
a combination deal. sort of.
Primarily, it's for the farm help, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
And the planners had no issues with this?
No issues, no comments, no questions.
Very good. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, it carries. Do you have anything else for us
No,
today?
sir, I do not.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Public Works, good morning, Seth.
I think I saw you already this morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board and staff. Several items from Public Works today. The first being to consider award of our 2018 Nicollet Salt Shed project. We had sent out quotes for construction for a new salt shed for Nicollet Maintenance Shop, and we received those and opened them on July 16th at 10:30 in the morning. We had received one bid by Greystone Construction for the amount of $74,900. Greystone Construction was the company that also built our facility in Klausner, and they did a very, very good job. We ourselves sent quotes to numerous manufacturers of different styles of salt sheds, and the quote request form was posted at the Minneapolis Builders Exchange. So it went far and wide, but it doesn't surprise me that we got one bid. So I'm asking the board today to award their 2018 Nicollet Salt Shed project to Greystone Construction for the quote amount of $74,900, and I'd be more than happy to answer any questions.
You've heard the request of the engineer. Is there a motion to that effect?
Can I ask a question first?
So moved.
Is there a
Second.
second? Question?
Wasn't there some talk that somebody wanted to buy the real estate in Nicollet?
Nobody's approached me to buy our property.
News to Seth.
It's been sold, oh.
I've had contact a few months ago to see if we were interested, but I indicated that we're in no position or have no plans to sell that property at any time soon. We need to have a lot of discussion and planning before we make a move like that with one of our facilities, so.
Was there an offer? There was no offer?
No,
Okay.
just an inquiry.
Okay.
Commissioner Drantle?
What was our budgeted amount for this? Do you remember?
I don't remember what the total was, because we have bituminous paving also built into that budget number.
Okay.
This is in the ballpark. It's a little bit higher than the draft number they gave me back in February, but we've seen a significant increase in steel prices since February. So this is just a little bit higher than what Greystone said those type of buildings were going for this year, but we're okay.
And this would be the same type as the one in Klausner?
Same
then?
type.
And same
Yep.
size?
Nope, it's a little bit smaller.
Thus it's a little cheaper.
Yep, since we have less trucks pulling material out of that location.
So the question that I have for you, since we have a new Nicollet County logo, will that sheet that you have depict it?
Unfortunately not. The facility will sit in a north-south.
Oh, less visible.
Yep, so the back of the salt shed facility won't be facing 111, and to put that logo decal on the curved side, what more than likely will happen is over time, snow and ice sliding off the building will peel that off.
I see.
Okay.
How about the Klausner? Will that just remain as the old logo?
That will just remain as the old logo until that one wears out, and if we look at replacement, we'd put the new logo over the old one.
All right.
As much as I'd like to have a new logo, 'cause
Yes.
it looks so nice on our one up at Klausner,
It does.
it's just going to get tore off by the snow and ice.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, it carries. You have another couple of items here for us?
Yep, consider award a bid for our 2018 aggregate materials project. Bids were opened on July 16th at 11:30 a.m. for this project. One bid was received, and the bid results are attached. Numerous plan holders had downloaded plans for this project, but as you can see, we only received one bid, with contractors having carryover work from last year and then the very late start this year. all the contractors bidding work, well, there's less contractors bidding work because they're essentially full and more than likely not going to get work that they've already contracted done this year. So we're seeing a reduced amount of bids coming in. Ferguson Brothers Excavating was the one that submitted a bid to us for $136,580. 2 years ago when we did this work and crushed material, Ferguson Brothers was also the contractor that did that work. They did very good work for us. They didn't anticipate a few little additional testing items that they were responsible for, which definitely incurred some additional cost when they did that work the last time, and now coming into it the second time, they're more aware of what they're responsible for. So they built, I believe, some cost into that work, and so we need a crushed pile of gravel for us because we have a significant amount of graveling that we will need to do yet this year and next year. So I'm asking the board today to award the 2018 aggregate materials project to Ferguson Brothers for the bid amount of $136,580.
You've heard the request from the engineer. Is there a motion to that effect? We have a motion by Lipke. Is there a second?
Second.
So questions on this. Are you comfortable with just one bid? You've stated that others are either not interested or...
Yes, I'm comfortable with the bid that Ferguson Brothers had submitted. If I didn't feel comfortable, I wouldn't be here asking for the board to award this. Even though it's a little bit more than what even I had estimated, these maintenance contracts that we bid out is a lump sum number in my budget, and depending on how our bids come out, I can flex what I kind of targeted for each one of these projects. And for example, this year we did not have to purchase as much crack seal material because we had some money left over from last year, and we purchased with that remaining funds material to be used this year, and so we didn't necessarily have to buy all out of this budget all the crack fill material that we necessarily use. So this bit of overage of what I had targeted can be made up by that remaining money that we had set aside for crack seal material.
Any other questions on the aggregate motion?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Are we doing anything that is making the bidding more difficult, that you get less bids, or are we doing it the same as all the other counties?
I can't speak to what every other county
well,
does, but
some other
we
counties.
definitely have, we follow requirements for making class 5 aggregate material, and we require certain tests to be done to make sure we have the right plasticity limits in that gravel, which those plasticity limits help keep that gravel stable on the road, which requires less maintenance going forward and keeps the road from washboarding and those type of things.
So it's more consistent.
Yes, yeah.
Not like the stuff I got from Cortland that has a blob of clay the size of a volleyball.
Yeah, you don't want to, you don't want that.
Madam Attorney?
Mr. Chair, just to clarify that the motion that was made to approve the bid would include Mr. Greenwood executing any necessary contracts associated with that bid.
Is that okay with the maker of the motion and the seconder?
I'll just add one thing. The board will actually sign.
So you're going to bring it back to board for this one?
I gave Lynette the contract documents to.
Right, so I just want to make sure that the contract is included in, because I think the motion was to approve the bid, and so it's to sign and execute the contract as well.
But yeah, that's fine with me.
That language appears to be fine with the maker and the seconder of the motion, if you can add that. Thank you. Plasticity, huh?
Plasticity, yes. Stickiness.
That's why they add the clay in, right?
Yeah, it's not necessarily just stickiness, but cohesiveness too. So clay has a high plasticity limit, and if you've ever played with moist clay.
Play-Doh, yeah, I did that years ago.
Yeah, it's kind of, Play-Doh's got some plasticity to it.
Good. All right.
We just learned too much from you, Seth.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, it carries. Highway striping?
Yes, consider award of 2018 highway striping project. We received bids for our highway striping project, and they were opened on July 16th at 11 o'clock in the morning. We also received one bid for this project from Traffic Marking Services. They had a bid amount of $184,416.92. My discussion is the same as for the gravel crushing. The striping contractors are also very booked up with work. We had received 2 or 3 phone calls from other potential bidders stating that exact issue that they were up against, that they were basically completely full for striping this year, and they weren't sure if they would be able to sneak this project in or not. But luckily we received one bid from Traffic Marking Services. We have used them many times before. They do very good work. If you look at the bid abstract that I had attached, what's a little bit unique about our striping this year is that we are undertaking the restriping of the entire Highway 1441 interchange, and the materials that we use to do that restriping in that area are very different than what we use on our just rural county highways. The paint that we use on our rural county highways is a latex paint. What we use at the interchange, and since it's concrete, will be an epoxy wet reflective material. It has a much longer lifespan and has better reflective properties during rainstorms and whatnot. And so those materials are definitely more expensive than our typical latex paint that we use. So in reviewing the bid, I am comfortable with the additional amount that that was bid on this. The striping done at the 1441 interchange, and we don't typically do that work on a regular basis. So when making our own estimate, we didn't have a great feel for exactly what the contractors were going to bid on that. And the one item that jumped out at us was for the traffic control for the project, because you're restriping roundabouts, and how do you maintain traffic through there? We were estimating that we thought they could probably maybe do it using just flaggers. I'm guessing based on their bid price, they're looking at something that's needed that's a little bit more robust. So just looking at those two different, I mean, it's $8,000 right there for traffic control to safely get people through those intersections.
All right, you've heard the report from the highway engineer. Is that a motion? Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
I'll second.
Commissioner Dranzel, Commissioner Lipke. Any questions?
Can I ask a question a little bit off base? On Friday, you're gonna go with the FEMA people?
Yeah, I will be attending
Okay.
downstairs. Yeah.
Now there's gonna be a road tour also?
Typically, in the past, they've scheduled time with entities to meet and look at their issues.
Okay. I mean, would that be something that you'd want me to go along?
Oh, you can definitely attend.
But I gotta be in Gillard at 1:30.
Okay, I don't know what their schedules are gonna look like.
So maybe-
Depending on how long just this introductory meeting in the EOC will go, that'll dictate the entire rest of the day, and they may not even get to everything
Okay.
on Friday. They may be scheduling
So I'll have to
subsequent
determine that
days.
Friday what's gonna work.
Yes.
And that's gonna be downstairs?
In the EOC, that's
Okay.
what I was told.
Okay.
Any other comments to the motion before us? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, it carries. And then you have a Fort Ridgely State Park issue, a bridge.
Yes, we had discussed this at our last board workshop. Bridge 5794 is located on County Road 21 and just east of the entrance into Fort Ridgely State Park. The existing structure is 2 lines of 12-foot by 12-foot cast-in-place concrete box culvert, and was built back in 1937. It's served very well for all these years, but is in definite need of removal. The structure on our inspection sheets is listed as structurally deficient and has a sufficiency rating of 67.8. That's out of a rating from 0 to 100. Doesn't mean that the structure is going to fall down today or tomorrow. It can still carry loads just fine, but it gives us an indication that it should be programmed and replaced sooner than later. Erickson Engineering has already performed a hydraulic analysis and determined 2 different options for replacement of the structure. Option 1 is replacement with 3 lines of box culverts, or option 2 being a single span pre-stressed concrete beam bridge. Replacement cost is relatively close between these 2 options. The bridge option, though, does allow for better tree and aggregate debris to pass through. Over the years that I've been here in Nicollet County, we've had significant issues with debris catching on the existing box culverts, and when that happens, it plugs up. The water level definitely rises, and you start to threaten overtopping of the road. If that would ever happen, there's great likelihood of you losing that highway, which would be a very dangerous situation. The other thing, when you have significant amount of debris obstructing those high flows, is the park, Fort Ridgely State Park on their property and on the inslopes of County Road 21 are seeing significant amounts of erosion occurring, which also jeopardizes the county road. So my recommendation is to go with the bridge option. Attached to this proposal is Erickson Engineering's cost proposal to develop those plans and specifications for the bridge. We would program and anticipate constructing this facility in 2019. Typically, bridge projects of this nature take 3 to 4 months to complete.
All right, you've heard the request from the highway engineer. Is there a motion to that effect?
I'll move to go with the bridge option.
And then also, if I could have as part of that option, is to authorize myself to sign Erickson Engineering's proposal.
That's fine with me.
There's a motion by Lipke. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Grantle has seconded. So, is it always the best practice to hire outside folks to determine this, or what would we need in our office to have this done in-house?
To design a bridge, you would need somebody that has specifically trained as a structural engineer to perform this design work, which I do not have. And so if you did a poll of majority of all the counties in the state of Minnesota, I would say that every county in the state of Minnesota hires a professional firm that specializes in bridge design to design plans and specifications for the replacement of these types of structures.
And if we can look back just a few years, we noticed that the state MnDOT office does the same because of the funding cutbacks at MnDOT. So it's interesting to know. Any other questions?
Sure. I suppose it won't happen, but would the state kick in extra money on this since it's close to the state park entrance?
It's possible. It's another one to possibly look for state park road
funds?
account, and we may do that.
You will inquire. Okay. Thank you.
All right, very good, thank you. Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, it carries. Do you have anything else to come before us this morning?
Not at this time.
Chair will recess the board meeting and call the Drainage Authority meeting to order. And we have,
Mr. Chair, I move the consent agenda.
thank you, Commissioner. We have a motion on the consent agenda for the Drainage Authority. Is there a second?
I'll leave a second that.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, concerns? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Right.
Those opposed, it carries. We are back at our regular board meeting. If I'm on the same page here as everyone else. Mr. Administrator.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just an update on our county parking lot that we're gonna construct across the street. We have all the permits and procedures done with the city for that. As you've seen on Seth's agenda items, we're not getting many bids by contractors on anything at this point due to our weather the last year. So Seth and I have decided that we're going to delay bidding out the parking lot project in hopes that we'll get better bids and more bids. So the plan is right now to bid it in late fall, early winter, with the construction starting in next spring. Since it's not something that needs to be done right away, and quite honestly, at this point of the year, even if we bid it this year and started, we wouldn't get much done anyways. So I think it's just a better option for us based on what we're seeing with all the contractors being way far behind on all their current projects. So that will be the plan moving forward. Budget process started last Friday, so department heads are putting their budgets together, and we'll start in early August with budget committee.
And as I recall, Commissioner Kemp and I are on the budget committee to begin with.
Right.
I've talked with Commissioner Drantle, since she is a veteran of budget. On the 15th of August, we may need to have her take my place at that meeting. We'll keep you posted as we get closer.
Okay.
Question on the parking lot, are we gonna be putting some drainage in there this year? So it settles over winter?
Which, over here?
Yeah.
No, we won't do anything this year with it. We'll bid it out all as one package next
Okay.
year.
So they will put the drainage in and pack it back down and?
Yeah, that would have been, the first thought is maybe do that, but weighing the pros and cons of getting better bids, and Seth said in our discussions that really they can get it packed pretty well, and the settling piece isn't a key or a big issue for us, so.
Didn't appear that way from the soil borings.
Right,
Okay.
so we should be fine waiting.
Just looking at it like a farmer again, you know.
Right, no, we did talk about that, of the benefit of having that settled, but it looks like we'll be fine doing it
Okay.
all the same year.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else, Mr. Crush?
That's it.
All right. Madam Attorney, do you have anything for us today? All right. Commissioner, let's see, where am I here? Chair's report. Highway 14 meeting in Owatonna on July 11th. Seth and John and I were there to hear the news of what the legislature accomplished, which was good news for Highway 14 from Owatonna to Dodge Center. We were all at the July 12th the Criminal Justice Committee meeting. Several of us attended the July 16th Solus informational meeting at the CHS, or down at Health and Human Services. On the 16th, I attended the Minnesota Valley Action Council annual meeting. We had a board workshop on the 17th. July isn't supposed to be this busy, is it? July 18th, the township meeting, most of us were there. Our TDS group met in the sewer on July 19th. I attended the probation committee meeting in St. Paul on July 20th, and just a couple of items there. It felt like we were needed an English professor to help rewrite some of the directions that we're heading there, and we're going to have another meeting in September on that. And I visited just before the meeting about our Housing Institute meeting in New Ulm with Ryan ahead of today's meeting. Apparently the medical center in Gaylord is moving forward, and there seems to be a plan that will show that that facility in the old Gaylord High School will become a reality by 2020. The Housing Institute goals are to help communities like Gaylord and Winthrop and Gibbon and New Ulm and Nicollet and North Mankato and maybe St. Peter to understand that there's going to be, by 2025, 400 to 500 students attending this medical school. And what can these communities offer in terms of housing availability to
Take it away from me.
take care of these future students that will be going to school in Gaylord, Minnesota. So I plan to talk with Mike Fisher at the City of North Mankato and maybe Russ Willie at the City of St. Peter. Apparently there was some developer who was interested in land near Nicollet, but it didn't come to pass, or at least hasn't. I think what many people are waiting for is to say, when this thing is up and running, then we'll build our facility, which makes sense from a developer investment's point of view, but may not answer the needs of the staff, of the deans, and future students who range in age from 25 to 40 years old and who have spouses and children probably going to be living there with them. So it's an interesting situation for the 125 students that apparently will be there starting in 2020. But like they say in real estate, there's many a slip between the cup and the lip, so we'll see how the financing goes on that particular situation.
Mr. Chair, would that enrollment grow as the years go by?
That's my understanding,
Okay.
Commissioner. I think I've heard somewhere in the neighborhood of 400.
Okay, wow.
Gaylord is apparently, Gaylord and Sibley County is apparently going to be, the medical school itself will be creating some housing structure for 60 to 100 of its
Okay.
students, but there will be need for 60 to 100 more. And, you know,
And
maybe
teachers.
people might commute, and people commute every day these
Sure.
days. So, you know, North Mankato, St. Peter, Nicollet, New Ulm, the area around it, you know, maybe even Shakopee, Belle Plaine would be places where people would locate for that period of time that they're going to school. So it's something to keep our eyes on, and if we can, maybe share what Nicollet County has to offer with this Housing Institute, and I'll talk with Administrator Crush about that. John, do you have your
Okay.
reports?
I was at the Highway 14 meeting with Jack and Seth, and it kind of was, I think, a unity meeting, hoping that the people on the east end stay in the Highway 14 partnership. Was at the criminal justice meeting with the rest of you here. I was with Marie at the soil conference at Gustavus. Was at the Solace meeting. Was at the workshop. Was at the township meeting in Nicollet, and Seth and I got the brunt of the criticism there. And,
Glad you could attend.
Yeah, and got, wrote my letter to the governor and did get a response from a Mr. something, Brennan Furness, one of his aides, and that's as far as it goes, I guess. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Granville?
I attended the Vine TAC committee meeting for transit. Ridership is growing slowly. They keep telling me slowly is good. The City of St. Peter, Nicollet County liaison meeting. I'll come back to the Taste of the Minnesota Valley, every other meeting that everybody else went to. I was invited to participate in the Taste of the Minnesota Valley event at Gustavus a week ago, Thursday. It was put on by Gustavus, Great River Greening and Farm Bureau, and it was all locally sourced foods. It was part of the Nobel Conference. It was a precursor to that. They spent the day dealing with soils in Nicollet County, and they did tours after. I just showed up for the food. It was a really nice event. I hope they continue to build on it in the future.
You know, did they invite all the county commissioners, or Jack?
Didn't ask.
I just heard about it through Facebook from Commissioner Granville.
was a
On the
nice
day it
event.
was happening, so
Sorry.
missed it. No, that's fine.
Everything was locally sourced,
Oh, it was excellent.
down to the wheat and the buns and the beer and the wine and the pork chops and peas. And,
These were really good.
no, fresh peas are good.
Very good, very good. Well, it seems we're all staying busy. Approval of commissioner meetings and conferences. Have you heard, Lynette, from commissioners on the upcoming AMC meetings and/or conferences?
No, I really haven't.
Okay.
I'll plan on going to the one in the Twin Cities.
In Bloomington
Yeah.
in December? Okay. The rest of us, I think, will indicate to you our direction.
Yeah, we
We've
should-
got a Duluth meeting in AMC in Duluth. Are you gonna be there, Ryan, in August?
No,
Middle-
that's.
Middle of
I
August?
think that's just the.
Well, that's our board. I
Yeah.
think maybe it's a workshop of some sort. Okay. All right, Chair will seek a motion to approve per diems and expenses.
I'll move.
Commissioner Lipke has moved, Commissioner Drantle is seconding.
Okay, what a deal.
Any other comments, questions regarding that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is there anything else that needs to come before the county board today for the good of the people of Nicollet County? Hearing none, we are adjourned, 10:30.